The American Financial Assistance Millennium Challenge Corporation, MCC, was registered at the Parliament Secretariat almost 8 months back, but the issue has not made it to the Parliament's work schedule as of yet. Speaker Agni Sapkota has not shown any interest in moving forward the agreement as the ruling Nepal Communist Party is divided on the issue. Good morning, I'm Abhyuday Shrestha and these are the headlines of the hour. Speaker Agni Sapkota shows no interest in including the American Financial Assistance MCC agreement in the Parliament's work schedule. Development works fail to gain momentum despite having a strong government and favorable condition. Ministries fail to even spend 1/4 of the development budget in 8 months. WHO announces the coronavirus outbreak as a pandemic. WHO Chief Ghebreyesus says cases outside China had soared 13-fold in 2 weeks. And Atletico Madrid enters the quarterfinals of the Champions League, defeating Liverpool 4-2 in aggregate. PSG also reached the quarters with a 3-2 aggregate win over Borussia Dortmund. The ruling Nepal Communist Party is divided regarding the American Financial Assistance Millennium Challenge Corporation, MCC. The MCC agreement, which was registered at the Parliament Secretariat almost 8 months ago, has not yet been moved forward to the Parliament's work schedule by the Speaker. Finance Minister Yuvraj Khatiwada had registered the MCC agreement at the Parliament on 15th of July this year for approval. However, it has failed to reach the Parliament's work schedule. Issues registered at the Parliament by the government can be moved forward to the work schedule of the Parliament by the Speaker by taking suggestions from the members of the parliamentary party. However, neither former Speaker Krishna Bahadur Mahara nor current Speaker Agni Sapkota showed any interest in moving the MCC issue forward. Lawmakers have expressed their dissatisfaction for not holding discussions at the Parliament regarding the agreement. The government has also shown dissatisfaction towards the Speaker's disinterest in moving forward the MCC issue. Speaker Sapkota has not been able to give his decision on the agreement as the ruling party is also divided on the issue. The MCC issue has escalated inter-party disputes within the ruling Nepal Communist Party. Prime Minister and ruling party chairman KP Sharma Oli is in favor of endorsing the MCC agreement, while other party chairman Pushpa Kamal Dahal is against it. However, the Speaker should not show disinterest on an issue just because it has raised differences within his party. Different ministries have failed to complete 1/4 of their targeted expenditure even after a lapse of 8 months of the current fiscal year, as the government could only spend 22.9% of the total capital budget. The trend of spending 80% of the development budget at the end of a fiscal year is likely this time around as well. Different ministries, including Education, Finance and Foreign Affairs, could hardly spend 12% of the total allocated budget. Similarly, ministries like Industries, Tourism, Water Supply and Labor have also recorded below average expenditure rate. This clearly exhibits the government's sluggishness in development activities. Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli had directed to spend 50 to 60% of the development budget within the second quarter of the current Development activities are also very feeble this year. The Prime Minister and ministers had forged work accomplishment agreement to reach the target. Likewise, Prime Minister Oli had reshuffled his cabinet after the poor performance by some of his ministers. However, this could not make considerable changes in the development activities. We'll take a short break here. We have more news coming up. Welcome back. The share market that saw a notable decline on Tuesday saw some respite yesterday. The share index NEPSE surged by 73.78 points yesterday to settle at 1,423 points. The stock market was fluctuating since the beginning of yesterday's transaction as it opened at 1,349 points and reached 1,398 points before it declined to 1,350 points. However, the market again started to escalate. A total of 5.626 million shares of 180 companies were traded yesterday, worth 2.22 billion rupees. The shares of Nepal Life Insurance were traded for the highest amount of 236 million rupees, followed by NIC Asia Bank with the transaction amount exceeding 146.6 million rupees and NMB Bank exceeding 122.1 million rupees and Himalayan Distillery exceeding 118.6 million rupees. Except the mutual fund group, indexes of all other subgroups saw positive trading yesterday. The life insurance group increased the highest with 511 points, followed by non-life insurance with 445 points, microfinance with 117 points, and manufacturing with 109 points. Likewise, the index of commercial banks group has increased by 68 points. And it's time now for the international updates. Italy is to close all shops except food stores and pharmacies in Europe's toughest lockdown yet as coronavirus deaths and cases continue to mount. Italian Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte said bars, restaurants, hairdressers and non-essential company departments would also close. Home delivery would be allowed. Earlier, the WHO had said the outbreak was a pandemic. WHO Chief Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus said cases outside China had soared 13-fold in 2 weeks. Ghebreyesus said he was deeply concerned by alarming levels of inaction. Nearly 900 people with the virus in Italy are in intensive care. Ghebreyesus called on governments to change the course of the outbreak by taking urgent and aggressive action. Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump has announced of sweeping new travel restrictions on Europe in a bid to combat the spread of the coronavirus. In a televised address, Trump said all travel from Europe would be suspended for the next 30 days, but confirmed the strong but necessary restrictions would not apply to the UK, where 460 cases of the virus have now been confirmed. There are 1,135 confirmed cases of the virus across the U.S., with 38 deaths. American film producer Harvey Weinstein has been sentenced to 23 years in prison for rape and sexual assault. Weinstein was found guilty in a trial in New York last month in a dramatic fall from grace for one of Hollywood's most powerful figures. The 67-year-old appeared in court yesterday on a wheelchair. Weinstein's lawyers had appealed for leniency, saying even the minimum sentence of 5 years could be a life sentence. But prosecutors argued Weinstein should be given the maximum possible sentence given his lifetime of abuse towards women and lack of remorse for his actions. Weinstein addressed the court for the first time yesterday, saying he had deep remorse, but described him and other men as totally confused by events in comments seen as critical to the #MeToo movement. Dozens of women have come forward with allegations of sexual misconduct, including rape against Weinstein since October 2017. Weinstein was found guilty of committing a first-degree criminal sexual act against production assistant Miriam Haley in 2006 and of the third-degree rape of aspiring actress Jessica Mann in 2013. New York jurors acquitted him of the most serious charges of predatory sexual assault, which could have seen him given an even longer jail term. All 6 women who testified against him during his trial sat together yesterday as he was sentenced and told to register as a sex offender. We have more news coming up, but right now it's time for another short break. Welcome back. In our Public Voice segment, we had asked the female public representatives of the local level at Panchthar why have they felt the need of skill development and public speaking training at the middle of their tenure. Let's take a look at what they had to say.
Public Voice.
ठाउँमा गएर कस्ता कस्ता खालका कुरा गर्ने कस्तो तरिकाले बोल्ने र हिँडाइमा पनि फरक हुँदो रहेछ बसाइमा र माइक्रोफोन एउटा समाउने तरिका पनि यही कार्यक्रमले सिकाएको छ
कार्यक्रम उद्घाटन गर्नुपर्ने हुन्छ र कार्यक्रममा बोल्नुपर्ने हुन्छ त्यसमा हामीसँग प्रशस्त मात्रामा त्यो बोल्ने हैसियत छैन बस त्यसकारण यो कार्यक्रम अति नै आवश्यक छ
कसरी शैली पुर्याएर बोल्ने भन्ने कुरा हामीले यो तालिमले हामीलाई सिकाएको छ
And it's time now for our segment Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion.
Public Pulse.
And here's the question. What is the reason of not being able to spend even a fourth of the expenses set aside for construction development even after a lapse of 8 months? Your options are A, weak policy implementation, B, lack of coordination, and C, useless mechanism. The voting is on. Type NEWS, select your option A, B, or C, and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. And it's time now for the sports update.
Sports news.
Defending champions Liverpool have failed to make it to the last 16 of the Champions League following a 4-2 aggregate defeat against Atletico Madrid. In the round of 16 second leg match held at Liverpool's home ground Anfield this morning, Atletico Madrid defeated the home team 3-2. Jorginho Wijnaldum opened Liverpool's account in the 43rd minute. As Atletico Madrid had won the first leg match 1-0, the second leg match went into extra time. Roberto Firmino scored in the 94th minute, giving Liverpool hopes of entering the quarterfinals. However, Atletico Madrid made a spectacular comeback. Marc Llorente scored in the 97th minute to bring the aggregate score to 2-2. Llorente scored his personal second goal of the match in the 106th minute to book a spot in the quarterfinals for the 6th consecutive season. Alvaro Morata scored in the 121st minute to seal Atletico's 4-2 aggregate win over Liverpool. Atletico keeper Jan Oblak, who made 9 spectacular saves, was declared the man of the match. This is the first time since 2006 that Liverpool failed to enter the quarterfinals of the Champions League. Meanwhile, Paris Saint-Germain came from behind to defeat Borussia Dortmund 3-2 in aggregate to advance to the quarterfinals of the Champions League. In the round of 16 second leg match played at PSG's home ground, Parc des Princes, early this morning, the hosts chalked out a 2-0 win to advance to the quarterfinals, despite losing the first leg match 2-1 last month. In the match without spectators due to the concerns of coronavirus, Neymar opened the scoring in the 28th minute to give PSG a 1-0 lead. Juan Bernat doubled PSG's lead by scoring in the injury time of the first half with an assist by Pablo Sarabia. Borussia Dortmund were down to 10 men after Emre Can was red-carded in the 89th minute. PSG held on to the lead to seal the 2-0 win over Borussia Dortmund and booked a spot in the quarterfinals of the Champions League with the 3-2 aggregate win. And it's time now for our special segment, Glorious History.
On 10th of March 1933, the first Nazi concentration camp was opened. Soon after Adolf Hitler became Chancellor, the first concentration camp in Germany opened at Dachau, where at least 32,000 people would die from disease, malnutrition, physical oppression, and execution. The first cases of one of the worst influenza epidemic in history was reported on 11th of March 1981 at Fort Riley, Kansas. It would eventually kill more than 500,000 Americans and more than 20 million people worldwide. On 11th of March 2004, Madrid suffered a series of terrorist attacks when 10 bombs detonated by Islamist militants exploded on 4 trains at 3 different rail stations, killing 191 people and injuring some 1,800 others.
And now, before wrapping up, here's a look at the top stories once again. Speaker Agni Sapkota shows no interest in including the American Financial Assistance MCC agreement in the Parliament's work schedule. Development works fail to gain momentum despite having a strong government and a favorable condition. Ministries fail to even spend 1/4 of the development budget in 8 months. WHO announces the coronavirus outbreak as a pandemic. WHO Chief Ghebreyesus says cases outside China had soared 13-fold in 2 weeks. And Atletico Madrid enters the quarterfinals of the Champions League, defeating Liverpool 4-2 in aggregate. PSG also reaches the quarters with a 3-2 aggregate win over Borussia Dortmund. And that's all for the moment. Keep watching Kantipur Television HD for more news and entertainment. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.